Okay, so what did this video say about education? And let us, before we proceed, take this analogy of considering non-stop learning as a vaccine. And that CBD is the teacher's vaccine. So my question for you is, are you edu-vaccine or vaccinated? We're going to answer this through our presentation. So let's go first regarding considering what is a vaccine. Can you just write some ideas in the chat box about what a vaccine is? Any ideas? Literacy, protection, great idea. Anything else? Something to prevent? Excellent. Okay, thank you. A vaccine, according to the dictionary definition, I have checked it in Macmillan, Cambridge, and Oxford, is like a substance put into your body or the body, usually by injection, in order to provide protection against a disease. According to Cambridge, a substance that you take into your body to avoid getting a disease. And according to Oxford Dictionary, a substance that is put into the blood and that protects the body from a disease. What could be a suitable definition then for an edu vaccine? Using an analogy approach, let's have a look at these ideas and let's accept the coming. If we accept that a substance is any CBD related, like courses, certificates, workshops, conferences, research, anything that you add to your CV or resume or career and your current job to protect your situation. And that injection is like learning, training, motivation, persistence. Then a disease is when change happens and your abilities, skills are outdated and do not protect you against this change, and in our case, a pandemic. But it could also include any situation in which you cannot develop protection against change. And let us stop here and consider the lessons that we got from COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed education forever. The COVID-19 has resulted in schools shut all across the world. Globally, over 1.2 billion children are out of the classroom, and of course, we, teachers. According to statistics in an article which I found on the World Economic Forum, you can imagine what happened in schools last year, starting from the end of February to the end of March. More than 1.4 billion learners were out of schools, and many teachers, of course, had to face the change. As a result, education has changed dramatically with the distinctive rise of e-learning, whereby teaching is undertaken remotely and on digital platforms. Research suggests that online learning has been shown to increase retention of information and takes less time, meaning that change the changes coronavirus has caused might be here to stay. And for us as TEFL and TESOL providers or people involved in the TEFL industry, despite all of these facts, what do you expect happened during last year in the TEFL industry? Do you have any ideas? Let me check with you in the chat box. Any ideas? What do you expect happened after the crisis and disaster in the TEFL industry? Loss of students? Anything else? Do you expect that things went well or went bad? Loss of teacher stability? Lower level of motivation? Okay. The number of people obtaining online TEFL qualification has seen a global increase following the outbreak of COVID-19. An international survey reveals. This survey was conducted by the TEFL Academy. The survey highlights the impact that travel restrictions and the social distancing measures have had on the global industry. If we had a look at this survey, we can notice the following. According to the survey, more than half of the teachers currently holding or studying towards a TEFL qualification began their studies during the COVID-19 lockdown. Of those, 13% lost their jobs due to COVID-19 and are looking to teach online. 45% are interested in teaching English abroad once travel restrictions are lifted, and 47% want to use their free time to upskill themselves. Were your expectations true? One of the participants in the survey quotes that despite the shift to online teaching and current restrictions, teaching English as a foreign language is still considered a ticket to the world. The TEFL industry has managed to stay on track, thanks to the versatility of the qualification, which has provided a productive way to spend lockdown and an opportunity to think beyond COVID-19. The impact of COVID-19 on some organization providing TESOL and TEFL courses. For example, the CELTA, in May 2020, Cambridge began to deliver their CELTA courses fully online for the first time in history, changing their TBs to be also delivered online. And this happened and became under review from May 2020. However, the experiment proved to be a successful one, and the latest update that I got as a CELTA trainer in training is that Cambridge gonna continue this to be forever because they got their reviews and assessment regarding the online delivery, and it found it working well for the CELTA practical component. And also the Delta joint, or Cambridge could change itself and change its skin to the new demand of the market and avail nowadays module 2 with its practical component is available online, and it is still under review. And if this experience succeeded like what happened to the CELTA, it might continue to be available online in the future. Here is Cambridge saying that they are doing their reviews, and if it succeeded, then even Delta Module 2 will be available online. So what does this mean for us as teachers? How will we as professional ELT face the status quo and beyond? Do you have any ideas here? As you have seen from the experiments that happened and how organizations faced this, we as teachers, individuals, are not as powerful, of course, as organizations, and we need support. So how can we as professionals face this? Any ideas? Yeah, teachers got tired. Agree with you. Awareness instruction. We need to accept the new reality. That's it. And swim with the flow. We also need to improve our digital literacy. Sure. Openness to changes, and we need to be flexible. Yeah, great ideas here. Thank you. So as we have seen that this is how organizations vaccinated themselves to face the new reality, the crisis. How can we plan then our CBD as a vaccine, as English language teachers, and make it as an edu-vaccine during and after COVID-19 or pandemic? And I think you already mentioned some of the ideas in the chat box. Thank you all for being interactive. Regarding CBD, or it might analyze it as a vaccine for us in the coming days. According to the CBD website, CBD is the holistic commitment of professionals towards the enhancement of personal skills and proficiency throughout their careers. And if we had a look, another thing to add is that CBD combines different methodologies to learning, such as training, workshops, conferences and events, e-learning programs, best practice techniques, and ideas sharing, all focused for an individual to improve and have effective professional development. This actually means that getting vaccinated will give you immunity against the changes that we might face in the future. In other words, let's look at how we can plan this, how we can make our CBT more effective. When we start as EFL or ESL instructors, we should consider answering some of these questions. For example, what is your teaching context, and where do you work? Which country? How can you start in your country as an instructor? Is it just about getting your BA and then you have a high-paying job, or can you compete in the job market just by getting the BA? From my own experience, getting just an BA kept me at a certain level, and as you have seen from my CV, I only worked for Ministry of Education schools in Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Then what is next? Sometimes for the job requirement, if you, for example, you are not a native English speaker, you might consider taking a proficiency test to find a better job. And at the same time, experience matters. Experience is one component of the things that you can add to yourself to get more vaccinated or edu-vaccinated. Once you have the latest vaccine, you can face the changes. And in order to get vaccinated, you need to plan your immunity. You need to use a framework or to follow a certain framework that you help you to plan it in the correct way. Concerning frameworks, do you have any ideas? Please, if you have any ideas, let's see your ideas here in the chat box. Any ideas about CBD frameworks? It's global. Okay. Waiting for your answers in the chat box. Okay, so let's go to the next point and let's compare your expectations about CBD frameworks. Some of the available frameworks right now are Cambridge CBD framework for teachers. The British Council also has his own framework, and the European profiling grid. And of course, after we finish this, I will make the presentation available for you to have an idea about these frameworks. If we had a quick look at Cambridge framework, so you can know which vaccine is good for your stage of professional development. For example, they have like a foundation stage, developing teacher, proficient level, and then the expert level. And also Cambridge didn't stop at this. They put like a rubric for each component. So at the foundation level, you have the rubric here, starting from knowing about the learning and the learner, knowing about teaching and learning and assessment, learning about language ability, language knowledge and awareness, and then investing in your vaccinating yourself is also one component. It is also focusing in your professional development and values. And also it has levels. Even vaccination, or let's say CBD, has levels which are different from in the rubric from the foundation level to the expert level. The British Council also has his own CBD framework, which has stages like this, like for example, starting, newly qualified, developing, proficient, advanced, and specialist, up to the level of a material writer or author. One way of linking, one way of getting vaccinated also is to link your qualifications to the job marking. And you can do this by looking into the job advertisements. So you can know the requirements in the market and vaccinate yourself as well. So what I have quoted here from TEFL.com and other research on Google, that in many advertisements you can find things like these: BA plus, for example, in English language teaching qualification like the TEFL, TESOL, CELTA, and sometimes they add the IELTS to the requirements. Even the second research also mentioned TEFL or TESOL or TESOL or CELTA, and CELTA is also a TEFL course, but the brand name is for Cambridge. Most of the job advertisements that I have looked at mentioned these acronyms: TESOL, CELTA, Delta, etc. And plus, for non-native English teachers, they might need to more vaccinated by getting the IELTS score according to the job requirements. Sometimes they ask for 7, sometimes for the academic module, sometimes for the general, sometimes for 7.5, sometimes for 8. So you must get updated and know which level of vaccination you need to find and face the changes in the job market. CERTESL also is another course mentioned here. DIPTESL, BGCE. So you have to be familiar with these acronyms and know which vaccine of them is suitable for your objective or your career goals. So, in one way or another, we can consider some of these acronyms to be added into your CV to get vaccinated, to face the job demands, or depending on in your context and situation. So TKT, TEFL, TESOL, or might CELTA, or might be Delta, or might MA. You might need a PhD. You might need a teaching young learner course. You have to be aware of all of this to raise the level of vaccination. The importance of teachers' development usually is, we can say in general, that certification is a good way of granting you better job, better pay, and of course more knowledge. So you have like two things in one component, that is payment, knowledge, and of course certification, something that can last with you to face any change. Sometimes we as non-native English language teachers who might need to take the IELTS, and I have mentioned this before, and it is very important in some job, for example, in teaching English in some colleges here in Saudi Arabia, they require 7 or 7.5. In any cases, you have to read and be updated of the job requirements, because the employer can set his rules for accepting any candidates according to his needs, of course. And your way of getting vaccinated is to match these needs with your objectives. However, another thing that happened also, that we needed to vaccinate ourselves during COVID-19, that is learning how to teach online. And it became like a great priority for any English language teacher. And people really did a good job in this. Many teachers began to learn early to work in Zoom and on other platforms quickly, and to adopt strategies to make their learning interactive using these platforms. One of the suggested courses that you can use, which are available on FutureLearn and which is free if you need to, let's say, increase your knowledge about how to teach online, this is one of the suggestions, as you might need, or I think many of you may be familiar of how to teach English online, but the course has some information that help you to grow online too. Or in case, for example, you want to go freelancer, and many of us facing this crisis nowadays lost their jobs, and they cannot find a job, and the only option available is to go freelancer. Another course which I found during my learning to work online is suggested here, and the link will be available. I'm not sure if this is still available for free, but last year it was completely free. And finally, last but not least, we as teachers need support. Support from governments, support from employers, support from the whole society, support teachers. Actually, it has been a very hard year for us all. Let us, before we finish, watch this video and remember to support teachers.
یا طبق اون کدی که من به شما میدم باشی و بقیه بیان از تو عذرخواهی کنن که دیر رسیدن یا صبوری تو.
So let's recap our session. Plan your CPD according to the job requirements. Take TEFL courses. Take an MA or PhD if this is the vaccine that you need. Take IELTS if this is a job requirement. Never stop learning to make your vaccination more updated and face the hard reality. Attend webinars and conferences. Take part in them as well. Always update your CV. Watch educational and teacher training videos. Be proactive and prepared for changes. We have come to the end of this presentation, but before I leave, I'm open to questions. So if you have any questions, just open your microphone and ask.
This is Kara. I've kind of switched from my desk to my living room, but I found it really interesting. It's not really a question. It's just really because what you said at the end, you kind of gave like a call to arms, right? You know, you presented what you kind of gave a call to arms, like a call to educators.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we need to be supported as teachers also. We are in the front lines. Not all the teachers are working online. I myself work face to face because it's a requirement in my context. So it's the same way like doctors. And remember that most of the teachers lost their jobs. So we are facing financial stress and facing a change in our lives nowadays. And of course, like doctors, we need support. Most of the employers actually have decreased the salaries and have get rid of half of their human capital. So yes, teachers need support. We all need this kind of support. It has been a very hard year for all, but we are surviving. We are trying to get vaccinated. Any more ideas? I'm open to questions.
Well, no, thank you for your comment, because it's true. We are surviving, and each of our countries are different in terms of the educational and vaccination rollout. So thank you very much for that comment.
Thank you. You're welcome, Cara.
Well, Ahmad, I've got a question about your context. I just want to see, could you please explain about the qualifications that an expat needs to have to work in your own context, like in Saudi Arabia and in Egypt? I guess you've been working in both contexts.
Okay, I will thank you for the question. This is very important. From my own experience here, and if you had a look at my bio, so at the beginning of my career, I got my BA and started working for the Ministry of Education in Egypt. And this is like enough to find a job in Egypt for schools. And even in Saudi Arabia. That's why I could find a job at the beginning by just having this kind of qualification. I worked for about 16 years at this level. And then suddenly when I discovered that there is something that by which I can develop myself professionally in a quick way, because taking a master degree takes time. It needs a lot of commitment, and I cannot stop working in order to take the master. So TEFL courses in general give you this ability to get vaccinated, let's say, or edu-vaccinated, and while you are working, you take the certificate and find better job. And this is from my experience. Just after I finished the CELTA, in maybe in less than 1 year, I found a better job. The job requirements were as follows. IELTS was a key issue. So getting the IELTS test with a score at least of 7 was the #1 requirement, plus any TEFL course, like the CELTA or TEFL or TESOL. It didn't matter at that if it is CELTA or not. Maybe British Council only and AIH maybe focus on CELTA, but in many contexts, any TEFL or TESOL course will be okay, depending on the quality and depending on the HR themselves. And the experience was another thing that was needed, like working with adult learners. And at that time, before I shifted to this high-paying job, I worked for another lower-paying place in order to get the experience. So usually you need to sacrifice before you get vaccinated or get this kind of protection. However, COVID-19 brought another dimension to this equation. Many of employers are facing like financial crisis and trying to get rid of the teachers. However, but in this case, we need to look for other ways that help us to survive. For example, you can working online became a priority. Starting like your own academy and trying to get your own students, and having some sort of organizational or administration skills, which we might need to do this, will be a priority in the coming days. In Egypt, it differs from one place to another. For example, if you're working for a private school, they might not consider TEFL courses, but it depends also in the employer himself or herself. Any more questions?
And one more thing, could you please stop sharing your screen, and then we'll get back to the standard version. We can see all the attendees on the screen.
Okay. Are you stop sharing?
Yeah, please. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, James. I'm just waiting. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Ahmad, for your time and for your very useful presentation indeed.
Okay. Thank you, James, actually, for the invitation.
You're most welcome.
And I hope that you all have enjoyed the session and have taken anything useful from it.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so we've got the next session at 10:15 based on the schedule to be presented by Dr. Fan Fang from China. And so if you don't mind, let's have a break time. It would be a long break indeed, like half an hour. We can start earlier, but I don't really want to change the schedule. It's better to follow the schedule. So 10:15, we will start the next session with Dr. Fan Fang. And since I'm a tea addict and I've made tea in the office, I've got to go and pick my tea, and I guess you better do the same. Take your time, be back at 10:15, and you don't really need to leave the room. You can stay around. The room is open until 8 p.m. Sorry, until 6 p.m. today, Ankara time. So you can stay around, and 10:15, get back. We'll start. Have a great time. See you around.
Thank you. Thank you, Jem. Thank you all.
You're most welcome.
Have a great time.
Thank you. Thank you.